Welcome back to a very special GBGuns. The Walther PPQ, after a decade of excellent service, is being replaced. Introducing the PDP Personal Defense Pistol. As you'll see in the tabletop, which is coming out after this video, there's a lot of things that are different about this gun. Pretty neat. We're going to run it through its paces. If you're new to the channel, here's how our shooting impressions videos go. First off, got myself and Tia, who's behind the camera. We're going to run through the back straps and figure out hand fit, show you how they change the way this gun works in the hand for my large male hands and her smaller female hands. Then we're going to do some cold shots impressions. We'll run a what's for dinner test, our trademark test to see how the gun cycles and functions with different loads. We also have a spinner out there to work on trigger control and sights, kind of a subjective, semi-objective test of how well the gun just works for us. Remember, 2 shooters. We'll also do some accuracy shots, and then we'll wrap it up with our thoughts at the end. If you want to jump to any of those parts, check down below. There are chapter markers and timestamps. You can click right through them, get to that spot. Let's get to it. So the PDP comes with 3 backstraps, one on the gun, an obviously larger one, and an apparently smaller one. Drive out the punch to swap it out, but we want to talk about how it fits. I've got large hands, some have called them banana hands. With the standard grip on here, when I grab the gun, my thumb can reach slide release very easily, magazine release very easily. My natural resting spot on the trigger is a little past halfway, but is right on there, which makes for pretty good control. Also, I can shove a magazine in without pinching my finger, although my finger is right there on the edge. It's protected by this little hump out here on the end. That is the factory medium. Ooh, so this is an issue I've had on some things because I've got meaty hands. The flesh of my hand is preventing the mag from dropping if I'm not paying attention. So that's another thing that we'll look at to see if the back straps change how it fits. Now we'll see how this works for Tia's hand.
All right, so the medium back strap for me, my thumb seats in really well and it's fairly comfortable, although I feel like I'm reaching. I can reach the memory points, but I do have to adjust my grip in order to reach those controls. Let's see, mag release is a little bit, it's causing me to pull a little bit, so this back strap is obviously too big for me. And when I reach in for the trigger, it's okay, but I'm reaching a little bit. Obviously, I'm not going to have the same issues as Graham does when it comes to the mag well. What I have to be cognizant of is that mag release, whether or not I can reach it from a firing position. If I had to do a mag change, I absolutely cannot. Without adjusting my grip. So this one wouldn't work for me.
Right, now we've got the larger strap on. You can see it's much fuller here. It's filled in some of what had been contour here, as well as added into the tang there. Woo! That gun feels fat. I still reach the slide release. Mag release is now, I mean, I can still hit it, but I'm hitting the rear half of it. My trigger finger rest is more naturally centered. This would be a good marksman strap, if you will, for me, because I'm able to do a straight flat pull there. But wow, the gun feels a whole lot fatter. Let's see what it does with Tia's hands.
This one's going to be fun, just seeing how it changed for Graham. It's still comfortable, but it's definitely not operable for me. My finger's barely reaching the trigger in a comfortable spot without. Yeah, I'm barely on there. Any recoil would knock my finger out of a position that's perfect for shooting. And again, I mean, you can see the mag release there is way behind my thumb. The memory points here are still nice, so I'm positive that I'm in a good finger off the trigger position, but this magazine or this backstrap absolutely is not one that I can use.
So here we are with the smallest of the straps. You can see that the curve back here has been lowered, so you're still getting that push to the palm of, or the heel of your palm, if that makes sense, but it's opened up a lot here. And working the slide release and stop is very easy. My finger's reaching pretty far up front, and I can get my knuckle on the trigger, but as an experienced shooter, it's not hard for me to remember to move that to the side. Mag release is super easy. I do have a little bit of catch of just my flesh now getting down to the mag. It's not going to mash and pinch my finger like a Glock, but it could catch. I just have to open my finger to freely release the magazine. See how this works for Tia.
All right, so let's see how that smaller one works. Already I feel like the gun is better seated into my hand, although I'm not getting my thumb up as high here as I normally would like to, but it does bring my finger to a really nice place on the trigger. Very natural, and I like the way that I am able to fill more of the space here with one hand. Memory points are still right there, and now I can reach the mag release with minimal adjustment. Still adjusting a little bit. I have small hands. If I was going to choose to run this gun, I would take a moment to consider this backstrap after a few shots and the medium one to decide which one is going to perform better in my hand, because even though this fits well, it may be a little bit too small compared to what I'm used to in shooting with more traditional guns that don't have this feature. All right, so I get the honors of putting the first rounds through the PDP downrange. We're gonna start off 10 rounds each, just kind of getting a feel for how the gun operates, how it fits in our hand. We did end up going with the medium backstrap because after I came back to it, this just feels more natural to me. The small one might be more comfortable if I had to, say, if I was doing a course just for the ease of mag release, but I think this one will give each of us an equal view on it. So anyway, 10 rounds down, just gonna shoot at my own pace, maybe some doubles, maybe singles. I like to hear the steel ring, so. Been a long time since we've shot, and it's fun, and I got a little excited. But I'll tell you what, this is so pleasant to shoot. Very, very pleasant to shoot. Let's see what Graham thinks.
So I'm pretty happy that we went with the medium backstrap. I could run the small, but I think it's going to be a more natural, as Tia said, fair comparison between the two of us, and impact from the two of us running that medium. Just notice the guide rod is fluted. That's a cool touch you don't see on factory guns very often. See how this thing goes. So we decided to keep the standard sights that are on it and not run it with the red dot, even though it's red dot ready, just to get a feel for these sights. They are small dots, makes for pretty precise aiming, it feels. Unless it's been a month or two since you've shot. But man, the gun just bounces right back into ready. It's kind of easy to shoot. Oh, flinch, and you notice we didn't get slide lock there. We are using federal training ammo. It's obviously not an ammo issue, it's a shooter issue. A problem that, even though I love Walthers and I shoot a lot of them, I have is that slide release is a great spot to rest my firing hand thumb, and I get real comfortable there, and guess what happens? The slide never locks open. I'm just gonna have to be cognizant of that and shift my thumb over off of it, especially when we get to the what's for dinner, which is coming up next. Before we get into what's for dinner, we of course have to do full mag +1, because believe it or not, some guns choke that way. We've got 1 round of our Federal training ammo, and from our extra carry pouch, 15 more rounds, giving us 16 rounds. Piece of steel, 15, 20-ish yards, so I've got something to aim at. We're of course just looking for the function of the gun here, but I'm also going to see how quickly I can unload this on that steel and still give hits. It's kind of a challenge for me, maybe entertaining for you. You guys can laugh and, oh, I'm so much better than Graham, or damn, that was a good run. But it also lets me get a feel for the gun at speed. Here goes. Had to find the rhythm there, but the gun ran, locked open because I kept my thumb off of that slide release. Now we're ready for what's for dinner. Who's hungry? It's what's for dinner time, the GBGuns signature and trademark test. We run 10 different loads of different bullet weights, shapes, and profiles, 3 shots each through the gun. Now, before we get into this, I gotta say a huge thanks to our Patreon and Ammo Squared subscription supporters. You guys make this possible. As you know, we are not pay for play. We're not bought out by anybody, nor do we sell stuff to you guys. So the way we afford this is from your support. The purpose of this test is to see if the gun will pick up from slide lock on each of these different shapes. Is there enough energy to cycle the gun, eject properly, feed the next one, and enough energy to lock the slide open? 3 rounds helps reduce variables while also keeping this short and to the point. We're not testing the full mag, that's done in full mag +1. We're testing to see how the ammo works. Now, you notice that each round has a different shape and profile. It's also going to have its own energy impulse, and we've got different casing materials. Each casing material has a different friction coefficient, different expansion and contraction rate, especially this aluminum and steel case. The nickel-plated brass tends to be really slick. We also have some black nickel-plated brass over here, and we're running from 65 grain up to 158 grain, including hollow points, flat nose, and FMJs. Let's see how the PDP does. All right, our what's for dinner is going to start off with Liberty Civil Training. This is only 65 grain, advertised velocity of 1710, which is really moving. Remember, Walther has that step chamber, so it's probably going to be even higher than that. The camera's going to show you the gun cycling through these shots. Then we'll show you target on paper about 7 yards. We do that not necessarily for our accuracy, but to see if there's a change in point of impact as we move through these different weights. Some guns have it, believe it or not. That chambered. And our first target. Woo, spicy. You can definitely hear that this is a high velocity round. Keep my thumb off that slide lock. No cycling issues. Printed pretty well. Now we moved on to the Z Clean. This is a zinc leadless shot, only 100 grain. Significantly heavier than 65, but still lightweight. Has an interesting shape to it. For the second target. This is softer shooting for sure. No cycling issues. Winchester Silver Tip, 115 grain defense JHP. It's kind of funny, I thought most JHPs were for defense. Really pretty ammo, pretty box, but it's still Winchester for the third target. That's got some punch to it. Whew! feeling recoil in my trigger finger with it. Grouped nicely though, and no cycling issues. Now some Blazer 115 grain aluminum, or aluminium for our Oxford friends. Remember, aluminum and steel expand and contract at a different rate than brass. They also have a different friction on the casing, so sometimes they can cause extraction issues for the fourth target. I mashed that one. So my first and the third shot are the ones that are touching. The one I mashed is the one that dropped. Stuff was actually shot pretty darn accurate, especially considering that it's budget ammo. I just had a little bit of flinch going on after that Winchester Silvertip. Now some Wolf 115 grain steel cased ammunition. This stuff can be spicy at times. And it is, but it's more of a push than a snap. First two touched, third one a little low, no cycling issues whatsoever in the PDP so far.
Finally, it's my turn. I get to start things off with the Archon 124 grain black nickel plated.
Jacketed hollow point.
I tried to remember everything, but I was just corrected that it's also a jacketed hollow point, and they're very sexy. And next is the Federal Syntech training match in 147 grain. These are those purple coated ones. Tell you what, this gun is super pleasant to shoot. I did mash that last one though.
Those smell good.
They always smell good.
Shame you mashed that last one. The first two were awesome.
Yeah. And for my third round, we have the Spear Gold Dot nickel plated 147 grain. It says it's a flower. Let's see. I'm going to take a little bit more time aiming all of my shots this time. Except for then I pressure myself. Whew. Those are a little bit snappier than the other ones. But either they or I performed well. And for my fourth try at shooting well, the Elite Performance Ammunition, the SIG V Crown. These are also 147 grain in a jacketed hollow point. They're beautiful. I actually run those in my everyday carry at times. And yes, I bought them because they're pretty. And they shoot really well. Very soft, but effective. And finally, the PPU Subsonic 158 grain full metal jacket. These typically are pretty pleasant to shoot. Not today. They produced a little bit more recoil than I was expecting, and therefore I pulled that. Apparently I pulled two, I just don't know where the other one went.
I might have stacked two, thrown one.
Not too bad after not shooting for a month. I'll take it. I'll take it.
And no cycling issues.
No cycling issues. And really pleased with the medium backstrap and the way it fit in my hand.
Next up, we'll do some accuracy fun. We've got the spinner out to work on our trigger a little bit, and then some nozzler match for grouping 5 shots at 7 yards.
He loves pinging the competitive side of me.
Now for something that's kind of fun, kind of a test. We have our Titan Great Outdoors spinner target there, and we each have 8 rounds. Now these spinner targets are a challenge because you have to time your shots. You want to hit the spinner when it's moving away from you to try to get it to flip all the way over the top. If you hit it while it's coming back, you kill that momentum and it's a moot point. The way this works for learning and evaluating the gun is trigger control becomes very important, as does sight picture and sighting ability. Plus you've got the time pressure that is somewhat random. So it's different from running around with a blue box and having a beep and saying, look how fast I did that. This is a speed or a timing that you don't get to control, but you have to control here. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. 4-inch barrel should give us good energy. The step chamber should give us a little bit of extra energy, so maybe it'll take less hits. Let's find out. And the pressure is on. Ah, missing. Ah, and I was so focused on that I forgot to bring my thumb off of here. So, reflections on gun controllability, trigger controllability, and sights, that was easy. The only reason I didn't knock that over the top was my own poor timing, but that trigger broke very predictably. And this gun just, after each shot, goes right back to where it was before you pulled the trigger. So as far as this test goes in evaluating the PDP, excellent pistol. Let's see how Tia does.
It is my turn. This test makes me really nervous because, as I've said many times before, I'm very competitive, but I like it. I like to be able to push myself and to see to have validation in the effort and improvement that I've been able to make. So let's see how well I do. By the way, I have spun this around before. I don't think the camera was on when it happened. Like Graham said, though, it's very easy to control. It's the timing that slows one down and becomes a challenge. I'm not going to get it around today. Oh, and I'm out. I might have, but it was my choice to go with 8 and not 10. That was super fun, and yeah, I'm really impressed with this, the PDP.
All right, so for 5 shots from 7 yards, this is sort of a practical accuracy test. How well, not using a rest, Kid and 2 average shooters use these sights, this trigger, and this pistol to group. To help reduce those variables, we use nozzler match. This is 115 grain jacketed hollow point. Out of the 60 or so loads that I've tested over the years, this was the most consistent when it comes to velocity, which means we're reducing variables. That's why that's in our groups. So 5 shots at 7 yards. I like this trigger. I like these sights. It fits my hand well. Let's see how well it does. I'm going to be going on the left sheet, the bottom right. Woo! Fireball ammo. That one crept up on me.
I'm using the same ammo that Graham did. I wish I had gone first. The pressure is on a little bit. And I don't know if you could hear it when he was shooting, but I could hear it, and it sounds like the ammo is just a little bit more authoritative. So I'm going to take a couple of deep breaths and really concentrate.
Damn.
Not too bad.
Well done.
Front sight served me well. This is a Walther, and it is evident in the way that it performs, in how comfortable it is. What my impression of it is, in comparison to the Walthers that I've handled before, is that this one is very much a perfect EDC. It's comfortable. It's aggressive where it needs to be in the grip and holding it in your hand, but it's not going to be obnoxious on your hip. It's the Walther that functions with you every day without losing the value of that pretty Walther feel and look that we've come to love. The trigger on this is incredibly controllable. The recoil is minimal. You know, it depends on the ammunition that you're going to put through it. Having it be optics ready is a bonus, especially for me. I've come to appreciate them a little bit more as I get a little bit older. I'm actually kind of excited to be able to have this in my pocket someday.
So I learned a new Walther was coming. I had to wait a few months before trying this. I had to wait even more months before telling you about it. So I've had some time to mull over. What I see in the PDP is that grip frame feel that was on the steel frames that anyone who tried, or most people who tried, loved that feel. The steel frames were expensive, semi-exotic. This is replacing the duty gun. This is your now everyday gun with that same feel in it. The serrations are great. I mean, we were talking earlier off camera. There's hardly a Walther that I can think of that I would ever consider a regret purchase. Every one of them has performed outstandingly, been great to shoot, and something that you really felt comfortable with, feel like you can trust. And the PDP is certainly there with it. The styling of it, to me, looked a little more aggressive than I was expecting out of Walther. This kind of has a fighter gun look and feel to it. But man, it shoots like a performance gun as far as the way the recoil tracks, the way it fits in your hand. Really a spectacular gun. I'd say this is an upgrade from the PPQ. Not that there's anything to really knock on the PPQ, but this feels to me more ready for anything than the PPQs did. I was concerned that the grip texture might be too aggressive because it does just adhere to your hand, but at the same time, rubbing against the skin, it's not like some of the other newer guns out there that you can use to zest oranges if you'd like. Walther's done a great job with this. This is an exciting new line. I'm looking forward to see what else comes out there. We do also have the 4.5 inch, which is a full-size gun with an 18 round magazine. Look for videos on that on the channel coming soon as well. And as mentioned earlier, as far as all the details and specifics of this thing, check out our tabletop video. Thanks for watching.